Hello and welcome to part 2 of creating a generic impossible level. Today I am going to go over, gonna make sure that's on, how to decorate it. So this, first things first, it is a lot, and that's because most impossible levels, all their deco is mostly just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it works. So yeah, I'll be going over everything that I used in the level, and if I forgot something, just ask it in the comments and I'll try to reply to it. Now we are in the editor, and I'm just going to take this layer by layer, starting with layer 0. All of the dynamic objects are set to group 3, which is pulsing black for 999 seconds. I accidentally pressed build helper while trying to put don't fade and don't enter on, so just ignore all the weird groups. Now the spikes, since color 1 is set to background and blending, this spike will always go behind the gradient spike, so it gives this a cool backlighting effect. If you don't want to do that, you can always just put a mini spike on top and it'll look okay. Layer 1 has bug fixing objects and triggers, but I don't actually think I use this at all in the level. This is useful if you have tilted speed changes and you want to make the level not as inconsistent to play. Level 2 is the block design. So each block design has 2 components, the outside border block and then the inside hollow block, which doesn't usually have a hitbox, but it can. Now, the entire process for making this block is as follows. I'm just going to be doing something completely different. So whatever sort of structure you have, you outline it in whatever solid block you want, and then fill the inside with something. If you want to put additional glow inside of it, that's all fine, but it will make the block design a lot glowier, which might not be the look that you want. And now probably the most iconic part of this design, which is the silhouettes. The way these are made is you take one of these grass objects, shift it over a bit, take one of these smaller grass objects, shift it over a bit, select all of that, make it black, and then you just copy and paste this on all of the outsides of the blocks. This can be done with any combination of blocks, and I highly encourage you to experiment with what you use. Next is layer 3, which is just for normal ground spikes. I'm alternating between the actual spiky spikes and these bushes, and they all have a bit of glow on top of them. This glow will be more useful on layer 4, but all that you really have to know is that color 3 goes to this color, which most notably is not that bright, but is a bit desaturated. And lastly, all of these spikes are on T2, so they go over all of the blocks. Now then, layer 4, we have these sort of light pillars, and there's this random object right there, and I'm just going to go over how to make these real quick. So you take these big glow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then cap it off at the end. Select this entire thing, set it to whatever that color was, and now you have this not as good light beam. So you're going to copy that, copy and paste it, move it up a block or down a block, and now you're going to see it's a lot more glowy. However, to make it a bit more ambient and a bit less laser-like, you select the entire thing, go to HSV, and turn the brightness down to somewhere in the 10 to 20 range, and that'll make it a lot more subtle. Then you can select this entire thing, link it if you want, I'll just make it easier to edit later, and then put just a random object up here, half space it, go into edit group, do group parent, and now when these are selected, this rotates around that center object. So the way to get these to spread out more is to select all this, copy and paste it. I moved it down a block, but you don't have to, and then just curve it a little bit. Copy and paste it again, curve it a little bit more, copy and paste it again, move it down a block, and then just go like this, and now there's this little light ray thing here. And then just remove all these pulsing objects. And just like that, there's this little light ray thing. Layer 5 is sort of a web background using these outer pulsing objects. Layer 6 is not used in this part, it'll be later. Layer 7 is these clouds, again on the blending color with lower brightness, and this is just for some random air deco. Layer 8 isn't used here, layer 9 isn't used here, and layer 10 is these really large scaled up grass objects put on T3, and this is sort of the overlay for this part. This style is consistent for all of this until we get to the wave, and also the glow is on both sides now because it's fancier. Now then, on to the wave part. Alright, so layer 0 is... oh goodness. Layer 0 is just all of these objects. Layer 1 is all of the interior spikes. Layer 2 is all of the block design, but without the grass silhouettes on them. Layer 3 is more ground spikes, but these aren't really all that visible. Layer 4 is more light rays. Layer 5 is the background, but it is not used here. Layer 6 is these chains. Now, something I did with these chains that you should not do is I copy and pasted each of these 4 times over each other. That is what you have to do for these style of chains. But these are already fine how they are, so you only need one of them set to black, so this is way more object heavy than it has to be. The way they go is every 5 blocks there's one of these, so it's just a big step right there. These are scaled up to 2 times, these are scaled up to 1.5, and these are scaled up to 1.75. Layer 7 is the air clouds, but they're not used here because there is no air. Layer 8 is all of these saw blades. They're all set to rotate at 10, and this is sort of the only dynamic thing in the level. Layer 9 is this really big glow screen here, which separates the background from all the overlays and stuff. To make this, you take one of these glows, and then one of these, put it down a few blocks, scale it up to like probably 2 times as good, set this to whatever the blending color was, again, make it a lot darker, and then copy and paste it, and then move it down a block. And then this right here is just a very smooth glow. This would be set to T3 because these grass objects are also on T3, so they'll be above the glow. This style is consistent all the way through the first wave, little intermission cube, and the second wave. But this time in the second wave, I've added some black background pulses to add to the intensity. And lastly, right here, it's the same as the first part, but with a few changes. First of all, there are some saws and ground spikes on the roof. The chains are continued from the previous part and continue to be very object heavy. The interior block has been changed from the grid blocks to the tube blocks, and the web background has been changed from the outer pulsing squares to the grid blocks. And then this style is consistent all the way up until the very end, where I added these, not that block, I've added these 2 objects right here. So you jump over the spike, hit the portal, and then hit the pad, and then the level ends. There's this last section over here with the 666 logo, and this is all group 5, and it moves down right there, so at the end it doesn't just cut off randomly. I hope this video was able to help you with some really simple decorations. If you want the sort of supercut version, here it is. 2 blocks in a block design, grass silhouette, glowy ground spikes, glowy sky lasers, web background of random blocks, chain overlay, random air deco, saw overlay, glow overlay, grass overlay. So yeah, that is the entirety of this level explained. As I mentioned way at the beginning, if there's anything that I didn't explain well enough and you want clarified, feel free to ask it in the comments. or if you're on the worst server, just ping me there. And with all that said, I'm just going to get onto the full showcase now.